You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Pure Chiro Notes, the Chiro Dex app, and Alok Trivedi. Let's hustle.
Okay, everyone, we are encroaching upon episode number 17 of the Chiro Hustle podcast, and Jim is going to tell you all about our fantastic guest today.
So we had an opportunity to interview Chris Burfield, who is not a chiropractor, but has used his skill sets to drive thousands of people into chiropractic offices. And if you're interested in growing your chiropractic office with his abilities, stay tuned and listen to this amazing episode.
So Chris, what is your chiropractic story? How did you get involved in the profession in the first place?
So I'm not a chiropractor, but I've been in the chiropractic profession for 20 years. It was 20 years this past July. And the way I got started was I actually failed out of college. I failed out of college twice, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I failed out of college, and I needed to get a job because my parents were like, well, you're not living with us for the rest of your life. So I ended up, I worked a few odd and end jobs. I installed satellite dishes. I was a bellhop. I worked in the service department of a car dealership, and then I was just miserable, and I felt like the world's biggest loser. Like, all of my friends were in school. They were making something of themselves. And here I was, working for minimum wage, and in jobs that I hated, by the way. So one day I'm thumbing through the newspaper, and I'm looking for jobs, and I see this job posting for healthcare facility, help wanted, no experience necessary. So my first thought was okay, it's healthcare. It's probably pays pretty good. It's probably paying better than minimum wage, which I think minimum wage at that time was $5.25 an hour. And so I went and applied, and I drove down to the facility, and it turns out it was a chiropractic office. I pulled up in the parking lot, and I was like, oh, wow, it's a chiropractor. All right. My dad was a coal miner for 17 years before he became a Methodist minister. But so my dad, my experience with chiropractors was my dad injuring his back in the mines a couple of times and going to get it adjusted. So I walk in there and immediately feel kind of out of place because it was myself and 20 women applying for this job. And I was the only guy in the room, and I was like, oh my gosh, am I in the right office? What is this the right place? And the office manager is like, you must be Chris. And I was like, yeah, how'd you know? And she goes, because you're the only guy applying for the job today. So I ended up, I mean, to be honest with you, I thought that this, and this isn't please don't anybody take this out of proportion, I guess, but I thought that this was going to be a receptionist job, and I didn't want that type of job. So I ended up giving the doctor had gone around and asked these questions, and I really just kind of gave half-assed answers, and ended up leaving that day and thought, good, made it out of there, And I end up 2 weeks later, I'm still without a job, and I get a phone call, and they tell me, hey, Dr. Strong would like to bring you back for a second interview. Are you still available? And I was like, I'm thinking to myself at this point, hey, it's a job. So because my parents were really riding my rear end at that point. And so I ended up going back down there, and Dr. James Strong from Blairsville, Pennsylvania, he says, hey, he goes, I really like the way you carried yourself in the interview. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. He goes, I think you'd be a good fit for the office. The job's yours if you want it. And I said, that would be fantastic. I'm like, what does it pay? And he says, $6 an hour. So I'm in my head thinking this is going to be a $10, $12 an hour job. It's it was 75 cents more than what I was currently making. But with that being said, I got way more value out of what he taught me in the coming months and years than the $6 an hour that I made working in his office 35, 40 hours a week. And he really taught me the philosophy of chiropractic and where true health and healing came from above down, inside out, taught me that subluxations were silent killers, and that people all over the world were dying because of subluxation and because of the pharmaceuticals that they're taking. And I really became very, very passionate and just fell in love with chiropractic. And after about 2.5, 3 years of working with him, he says, you got to go to school to be a chiropractor. He says, the profession needs people like you. So I was like, all right, well, where do I go? And he's like, you go to Parker College of Chiropractic, best school in the nation. So I packed up my 1997 Ford Escort. I actually got my bed in that car, believe it or not. The mattress to the bed. I didn't take the box springs. I just took the mattress. But I actually shoved my mattress into the car, and I drove 1,200 miles with everything I owned in that car to Dallas, Texas. I had no friends. I had no family. I had no job. I had originally had $2,000 in my pocket, but my car engine blew up about 10 minutes after I left, which delayed my trip. And I had to spend $800 getting a used engine put in it. So I was down to $1,200. I had some roommates that I had never met before, that I had one phone conversation with. I called Parker and said, hey, is anybody looking for roommates, any chiropractic students? And they gave me a list, and I called the first one I called and talked to some dude named Colin for like 2 minutes. And he's like, I remember when I said, hey, are you guys looking for a roommate? And I said, yeah. Or they said, yeah. And I said, so I was thinking I'm, rooming with you guys. What's involved in that? And I remember him saying, hey, guys, there was 3 other guys in the house. And he goes, some dude wants to come here and room with us. Is everybody cool with it? And they're all like, yeah. He's like, yeah, man, we cool with it. So, that was, there was like a 2-3 minute conversation. So I get to Dallas and end up getting a job working in a chiropractic office. And I went to school, was trying to do my prerequisites, and I ended up failing out of school again a second time. And to kind of wrap this part of the story up, I was working, the chiropractic offices I worked in, I got really good at marketing. So I was a tech CA in the offices, but it was my job to bring in new patients. So over the years, I had learned how to do the in-office health, health talk, the half-hour to health type of talk. I was doing corporate talks, teacher appreciation events, networking with, other healthcare or professionals like massage therapists, acupuncturists, medical doctors in the community, getting them to refer people. I was doing tons of spinal screenings, and I got really good at bringing new patients in. And one of my roommates in 2002 was getting ready to graduate Parker, and said, hey man, I don't know the first thing about getting new patients into a practice really. He goes, all the adjustment requirements we have to have in outpatient. He goes, I basically paid all my friends to come in and get adjustments. So he's like, just so I could get through them. He's like, I really don't know how to do new patient stuff. So how would you like to go into a 50-50 partnership with me? So we opened Tree of Life Chiropractic in 2003, and I did that with him for 7 years. I co-owned that practice with him, and we started it for $12,000 because we couldn't get a bank loan. I had an IRS refund check that year for $3,000 plus some credit cards. He had some credit cards. Our front desk was a desk that we got from Big Lots. We had fold-up chairs. I had a computer that was 5 years old. That was our computer for the front desk, and some posters that we bought like on eBay. And didn't have an x-ray machine. We did get a substation. Somebody was selling a used substation for like $1,500. So that was our diagnostic equipment. And 7 years later, we had a practice that was doing about $750,000 a year. But by that point in time, we really had a difference of opinion on where we wanted to go with the practice. And he wanted to go more medical. He wanted to bring in medical doctors, do injections and all that type of stuff. I wanted to stay true to the principle of chiropractic. So we ended up doing a buyout in 2010. And at that point, I had already started building a name for myself online back in 2006. And just decided I was going to start teaching marketing full-time to chiropractors. And then by 2015, I started an agency called Van Burf Media, which does the marketing for chiropractors, just doesn't teach it, but we actually do it for them. So that's my story in a nutshell. I know it took a little long to explain all that, but that's where we are today.
No, and what we do is we help people with our podcast break bread to the chiropractic community. So a lot of people inside the sphere of influence might know who Chris Burfield is, but when we start presenting the Chiro Hustle podcast out there to people that might not be familiar with you, now they really know who Chris Burfield is, where he came from, why he does what he does. And, that's just explaining your deep why to everybody out there that might not know who you are. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And, I know that so many people appreciate a good story. And I always tell people that the person that is the most valuable in the room is the one with the best story, not the one with the hill of money. So
right.
The people that are articulate enough to tell their stories, I find that there's a huge value in them. And I know you don't get there easily. So tell me a little bit about what there's a quote that really inspires you or a mantra that you follow to help give you that motivation to stay on top of your game.
Yeah, that's there was a quote that John DeMartini, I heard John DeMartini say this years ago, and he said this: the master always goes in the opposite direction of the masses. And I've tried to do that. So, it's like, especially with my marketing, when I start to see the market getting saturated with certain types of ad campaigns, I start to go in the opposite direction of what everybody else is doing with that. Because I know it's just a matter of time before it becomes so saturated that those ads stop working. And I'm always constantly learning and trying to find out, okay, what's on the horizon, what's changing. And especially with marketing, everything changes so rapidly. What was, relevant 6 months ago is no longer relevant today. Sometimes there's a saying that like, hey, you got to market like it's 2017, but it's really like right now, like today, you got to market like it's September 2017, because like it could literally change next month, what's working and what's not working. So it's like, I pay attention to that type of stuff. And like, dude, I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist too. You know what I mean? So like, I kind of go against the grain on a lot of things. And like, anytime I see the masses believing a certain way of thinking, I'm going in the opposite direction and asking questions. You know what I mean? So that's a quote that's really helped me get to where I am in life, just like following that advice. Always go in the opposite direction of the masses.
And I appreciate you saying that, because a lot of times people think that if there's a trend that's going, they should just kind of stick on it and ride the train. What would you recommend to anybody out there that's interested in marketing that might think that they're going to just like set up shop, or like we had an off interview conversation on how people are, coming into the chiropractic world and they set up a little Kool-Aid stand and they think that they're going to start selling ad space to chiropractors. What would be some advice that you would give to somebody if they are, out there doing this type of thing, that you might build some credibility for them?
Well, one thing is, like with the Kool-Aid stand people, like you were saying, I'm picturing like Kool-Aid man, like running through the brick wall, Anyway, when you're dealing with somebody like that, and there's a lot of them right now, unfortunately, in the profession. And as a matter of fact, I belong to some different private closed groups of marketers. And it's kind of amazing, some of the stuff that you see posted in there. Like, you see some people get like, they'll get a new client. Like, these people have like never run a Facebook ad in their life. Like, they know how to set up an ad, but they've never actually ran a campaign for somebody. And then you'll see them get a new client, and then they run in there, hey, I just got my first client. Like, it's a yoga studio or it's a chiropractic office. Does anybody have an ad campaign I can run for them? And it's like, what? It's like, you don't understand strategy enough to like sit down and figure, okay, here's my client, here's what we're going to do. Like, I mean, I understand asking for advice, but these people are just like straight up like taking ad, plagiarizing an ad, and just copying and pasting it. And you've got chiropractors paying big dollar for somebody that's literally just copying and pasting an ad campaign for them. And a lot of these people are fly by night. That ad might work for, a month or two or three, but then when it stops working, they don't have enough strategy. They don't know enough to about marketing to adjust and do something different to get to keep those results flowing in. So a lot of times, you see these people after a few months, they're back to ground zero sort of thing. But as far as the, chiropractors being able to decipher, who's good, who's not, I would ask them, how long have you been in the chiropractic profession? For example, you, Jim, like you were just saying, you're going on your 8th year. How long have you been serving How long have you been serving chiropractors? If they're you're my first chiropractor, then that might not be a good fit for you. That's one of the things, with me, I eat, sleep, and breathe chiropractic. I was telling you, Jim, in our right before we started recording, that my agency name is Van Burf Media, but the company, the umbrella company that is under, is called Chiropractic is Life, because it is. Chiropractic is my life. I've been in this profession 20 years. I know how to communicate to people. I know how to talk I know how to talk the language to the general public. I know how to communicate chiropractic to the public. So that would be one thing. How long have you been in the profession? And two, get references. How many people are you working with? Can I talk to some of those people and find out, if they really are getting the results that they say that they can get?
Well, I think that's all real good advice for people out there that are listening to this that might consider doing some type of, Facebook ad funnel system. Just make sure that you find somebody, as they would say in the old school days, is know somebody, like somebody, and trust somebody before you go to business with them.
Yep, right. Because it's some of these people are really good. They're good. They're smooth talkers, a lot of them. So it's one of the things I appreciate about you, Jim, is that even when I see you posting up wanting, you're hey, I need a chiropractor and you need it in some state or city or something like that. I love that you're going to people that and trust to get an advice to send somebody to, versus just picking someone out of a hat or doing a quick Google search. Is okay, well, this looks like a good one. Go off of referrals. A lot of these other Facebook ad agencies, they run ads in the news feed, and some of those ads are very, very attractive. Hey, we can get you 40 new patients this month, sort of thing. A lot of times, it's funny. A lot of times, those new patients end up really just being leads, and they don't speak the language. And they end up telling you, yeah, I can get you 40 new patients, but it's really, I can get you, what they're saying is I can get you 40 leads. That's another thing to just be aware of, but anyway.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit. I know Luke is chomping at the bit over here to ask you a couple questions, and I would like to get him involved with the interview process with you as well.
So, where do you personally see the chiropractic profession in 20 years?
Man, I'll tell you, chiropractic has changed so much. So when I got started in 1997, it was way different than what it is today. But the guys that were 20 years before my time for that would tell you the same thing. But it seems to me that chiropractic is really losing its identity. I'm not a chiropractor, but if I were a chiropractor, I would refer to myself as a principled chiropractor, somebody that holds true to where health and healing come from from the inside out. Now that doesn't mean that you can't do nutrition. Nutrition is an inside out thing. You put good nutrition in the body, that creates health, that sort of thing. But I don't know. I kind of see these gray areas, man, where my ex-business partner, wanting to do injections, and now there's stem cells, and functional medicine, and and again, like, I mean, if that's how you want to practice, that's how you want to practice. But like in 20 years, man, I don't know how much of chiropractic is going to be left. It seems like the people that are like, and I'm not like a diehard straight person either. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like, okay, you have to adjust C1 or you're not doing chiropractic. Like, I'm not that type of person. But I just think that I remember, I think it was Patrick Shintempo that years ago I heard him speak at State College, and he said something to the effect of like, look, if we're not careful, what's going to happen is the medical community. So like the medical community, as you guys both know, to kind of back up here a little bit, there was a huge propaganda campaign that I think ran from, I think it was 1946 through like 1986, 87. And then you had the Wilkes case, and the AMA was found guilty of conspiracy to defame and eliminate chiropractic. And, during that span of marketing that they did, they really created a bad name for chiropractors. But the thing is, they were trying to eliminate it, and they couldn't, right? So they were not successful at eliminating chiropractic. So what's the next step? And this is what Jin Tempo talked about. He said, if you can't eliminate it, you consume it. And ever since then, I have seen where chiropractic is being consumed by allopathic medicine. And they're trying to limit, and some chiropractors are excited, like, hey man, like they give me hospital rights. I can go in and adjust people for back pain now, and it's like, man, chiropractic is so much more than that. Okay, that's great that you got hospital rights for whatever, but like, it's more than just back pain. Stop treating it as just something that's good for musculoskeletal conditions. Well, that's what the research says. Well, there's a lot of other research coming out, especially from like, Heidi Havoc and whatnot, that are showing chiropractic's the adjustment's effect on brain function, the neurology. It's quite fascinating. But I don't know, as far as, what this profession, I really can't answer that, what it's going to look like in 20 years. But in my opinion, it looks a little dim. I don't think it's going to be the same chiropractic that we know today. That's for sure.
So tell me some of your key marketing strategies. How do you use media to, promote what you're doing, and, what's your favorite kind of way to market yourself to your community?
Yeah, so I'm real big on a strategy that's called Mereexposure effect. And what Mereexposure, it's MERE, and what Mereexposure effect is it's a psychological phenomenon that when people see someone or something over and over and over and over again, they tend to have a preference or a liking for that person or that thing. We look at huge ass brands like Pepsi Cola, Coca-Cola, things like that, and we say, okay, well, why does Coke even need to? Everybody knows what Coke is. It's like everybody knows that brand. Why do they have to spend money on marketing dollars? And they spend millions upon millions upon millions of dollars on marketing. Well, it's Mereexposure effect. It's being out there and reminding people who you are. See, at the end of the day, marketing is not about people remembering who you are. Marketing is about you reminding them who you are. So one of the things that I do every day is I make it a habit to post something up, and social media is where it's at. At the end of the day, everybody's on social media. Over 2 billion people worldwide are on Facebook. That's just Facebook. 2 billion people. People are watching Dancing with the Stars. They're watching all their favorite TV shows, Survivor, Big Brother. And while they're watching their show, they're literally surfing Facebook at the exact same time. Some people even have multiple devices open. I know I do sometimes. Like, I'll sit there and like I'll have my laptop pulled up and my phone, And, there's an iPad sitting off to the side. I mean, sometimes I've got multiple devices open while I'm sitting there with my wife while she's watching her show, and I'm kind of, watching up and glancing at it from time to time. But that's all, the attention is there. So if the attention is there, it just makes sense to put yourself in front of the audience. So, before, we'd have to go out and try and find an audience. The audience is already there. Like, all you have to do is just put your content in front of it. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to do what are called goodwill campaigns. So I take very valuable content. I teach a lot of marketing stuff. As a matter of fact, I have a show that is on Facebook. It's also on YouTube, but it's on Facebook. It's called Propaganda Marketing Machine. And then that show is anywhere from 10, sometimes 20, 25 minutes, depending on what the episode is about. And I teach all kinds of marketing strategies in those episodes. It airs every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time on Facebook. The page is Van Burf Media, VANBURF Media. So if you go over there, you can like the page and make sure you turn on notifications in the follow section so that you get notified when the new episodes come out. But I have that, and I have this other little mini series that's called The Vault. And The Vault is really just it's just a little 1 minute, 2 minute videos that provide some top tips for the day sort of thing. And then I actually just started another series that's coming out. Our first episode just recently aired. It's called Burf on the Grind. And I'm documenting my day, like my week. I'm documenting my week and then editing it down into like a 5 to 7 minute clip and just kind of giving people an inside look at my life. So that type of stuff, producing content and then repurposing it and making sure that it's put out on all the channels gets you Mereexposure effect. So for example, if I do a Facebook Live, I'll take that Facebook Live. It's now on my page, right? I'll take it and I will download the video. I'll strip the audio off of it and add it to my podcast, and then, which is also Propaganda Marketing Machine in the iTunes podcast store. And then also I'll take that same video and I'll just upload it to YouTube and then have it search engine optimized so that people searching for marketing tips, they can come across my content. It's taking stuff like that and just like that's the kind of the trick, is that you don't have to create original content for each channel. Like if you've got a Snapchat, you could literally film a 2 minute video on Snapchat, or I'm sorry, a 1 minute video on Snapchat, and then download it, upload it to Facebook, put it on your YouTube channel, maybe even post it on your blog, the video on your blog, and send an email out to your database about that. And you're just taking that same content and you're repurposing it across channels, because you'll have some people that will only follow you really or only pay attention to you on Snapchat. Then you have other audiences that only pay attention to you on Facebook. And then you have other audiences that only pay attention to you on Instagram. So instead of trying to come up with brand new content for each platform, you just take one piece of content and repurpose it. And by getting out there and having that exposure and people seeing you all over the place, Grant Cardone, if anybody in your audience knows Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk, these guys are masters at this stuff. They are literally everywhere. And that's how you begin to position yourself as an expert and authority in your niche. And one of the fastest ways to actually do that for a chiropractor listening to this is, instead of just waiting for people to find you, run a Facebook ad to it. So I like to make videos, right? So I make a video and give somebody a piece of valuable content. Let's say, for example, as a chiropractor, you're going to market to people in your community, or you want to share some information to people that have migraines on how they can get some relief from their migraines. So maybe you do a video on the top 3 foods they should stay away from, because these foods are known to trigger migraines because they cause inflammation or they have these chemical reactions in the body. Maybe you do another video where you have your husband or your wife or maybe your CA act as a model, and you show people hey, look, if you've got migraines, stress on the cervical spine, on the neck, can trigger that, and here's one of the biggest stresses: poor sleeping habits. And then you have your model demonstrate how most people sleep at night and how they're pillows are all like either too soft or too puffed up and their neck is all crooked and jacked up at night. And then you show them, so that's how you're probably sleeping. Now let me show you the correct way. And then you make a video on that. And then maybe you do a third video where you're like, hey, look, here's some pressure points. Next time you feel a migraine come on, try a few of these pressure points and see if it helps. And at the end of the day, if the person's subluxated, that problem's not going to get fixed. But if they feel a migraine coming on and they're like, hey, I'm going to try those pressure points I saw that doctor do in that video. And they try those pressure points and maybe their migraine, instead of being a full-blown 10, is like an 8 or a 9 this time around. They're going to like be really grateful to you. Like, wow, I still got the migraine, but it wasn't as intense. And then it begins to position you as an expert, somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. Hey, ever since I've been doing that new sleeping position that doctor taught in that video, like I noticed, like instead of getting 5 migraines a month, I'm only getting like 3 or 4. And it's like, and you're building goodwill, and you can take those videos and go into your Facebook ad manager and set up what's called a video views ad. And I like video view ads because they're cheap. Like you could, if you had a budget of just $10 a day, $300 a month, the video views are roughly about a penny a view. Sometimes they can get up to 3 cents a view, depending on how relevant they are to the audience. And then sometimes if people really share them a lot, like it's a great video and it just goes viral with sharing. I've had videos with clients where they've been like, it's been 0.2 of a penny per view. So, but for roughly a penny a view and a $300 ad budget every month, you could get your videos in front of 30,000 people in your community every single month. 30,000 people seeing your content. So, and if you don't want to just focus on condition specific, you could just do health and wellness tips. I have a client that did a video on, she gave it was like a 1.5 minute video tip on basically the law of attraction. She just talked about, what we think about is what we bring about in our life. And she talked about why it's important to have a positive attitude and how that can actually help us live a healthier life. And that video got shared like 352 times. It's had like over 100,000 views now. It's had something like, I think 500 or 600 likes. Like it was just, and now her name has spread through the community of like, hey, that's Dr. Tamika. And, it gets you in front of people. It makes you relevant to your community. The biggest thing, guys, is for the number one reason why small businesses fail is obscurity. People don't know who they are. And if you're not putting out content, people will never know who you are. It's the same as like a chiropractor getting out of school and thinking he's going to hang a shingle up on his, out in the front lawn and people are going to flock to him. It's the same concept. Like a lot of people, like they think that just because they're on Facebook, that like people should know, because they have a Facebook business page, people should know who they are. It's like you have to actively promote that. You've got to deploy your content. And that's one of the reasons why I love Facebook ads so much. It's a fast, easy way to get exposed in the community.
Well, I appreciate you sharing all that valuable information with people out there that need it. And I know that I could talk to you for probably, the next 3 hours straight. But what I want to go full circle with you, and I want to ask you one question, and I want you to be able to help people with this. What if everybody knew about your cause and what you're able to do for them? What would we be able to accomplish as a chiropractic profession?
Oh my gosh, dude. Like I made a post on this a little while back, and if I could kind of recall the numbers here a little bit, but like if I was guesstimating that there's probably about 70,000 chiropractors worldwide, at least, in some form of practice, an associate, own their own business, contractor, that sort of thing. If every single chiropractor in the profession were to spend $300 on some Facebook ads and actually get their valuable, life-saving information and content out to their community, teaching people how how to get well and stay well, where real health and healing come from, above, down, inside out. If they were to do that, it was something to the effect of we could reach on a $300 ad budget. This is everybody spending $300 a month, all 70,000. We could reach 230 million people a month and almost 2.5 billion people per year with the message. Dude, it's like, excuse my French, but Dan, it's a fucking no-brainer, but nobody does it. It's so frustrating. Oh, Facebook doesn't work. I ran an ad and I didn't get a single new patient from it. I ran my ad for a month. I ran it for a week and didn't get nothing, so I turned it off. It's like, for me, guys, like, I market for the sake of marketing. I've been marketing my brand since 2006. Granted, there's still people that don't know who I am in the chiropractic profession, but there's a lot of people that do. But there are ad campaigns, there's marketing that I do that yields no return on investment. Not today, not a week from now, not a month from now, but every single thing I do adds up over time. And I just got off the phone with a guy today that said, Chris, so he scheduled a consult with me through the website, got on the call with him. He's in Fargo, North Dakota. And he says, I've been following you for 2 years, watching your stuff, and thought I'd give you a call and see maybe what you could do for my practice. So we had a consultation about what we could do with some Facebook ads for him. And he says, send me the link to make the payment. Let's get started. This guy's been following me for 2 years. Michael Gambagorda, Dr. Michael Gambagorda just made a Facebook post the other day that said, it was in the comment section of a post I made, said, I've been following you since 2006. I have all of your original emails in a file folder in my inbox. And I was like, dude, I would love to see those emails because I want to know what I was talking about in 2006. But that's the thing. Like, and Michael has bought several products from me over the years. But everything adds up, and we need to stop approaching marketing like it's an event. It's not an event. It's a process. You've got to market. You've got to put your stuff out. You've got to spend marketing dollars putting out content. And if you can't afford $300 a month, then you've got some issues. If you can't afford $300 to spend on some ads to just get your message out into your community, if you would just do that, and do it regardless of whether or not you get an ROI from it this month or next month or the month after, I promise you, if you give it some time, if you're patient with it, you will become the leading authority and go-to expert in your community, and you won't be able to turn off the new patients once you've hit that critical mass, once you've hit that tipping point of people knowing and understanding who you are, what you do, and how you're and your mission and how you're changing the world. So yeah. That's what could be done, Jim. If everybody would just do it.
So, kind of touching on that a little bit, what's your favorite app or technology to stay engaged with your audience?
My favorite app or technology, man. I post like I love the Instagram app. It's one of my favorites. Matter of fact, there's that, and then I'm trying to think. Another. I love email, and you know what? Actually, I tell you. Matter of fact, I'm having this all built out right now. People will actually be able to subscribe to my Facebook Messenger list. I'm having there's a new type of technology that just came out in 2016 called chatbots. And it's basically artificial intelligence, but you can actually have like these really engaging conversations inside your Facebook Messenger app. I think it's going to be a huge game changer, especially for chiropractors. I just went through a sequence of a guy that I'm hiring actually to build out my chatbots and actually teach me more about them. But let's see if I can find it here real quick in my. What was his name? There he is. Bot Academy. BOT Academy. Bot Academy. So I went through this guy's Facebook Messenger app sequence. So I saw an ad in the newsfeed and said, hey, if you'd like to learn how to build chatbots, send us a message. So I was like, you know what? I know how to do chatbot marketing to a degree, but I'm not a ninja at it yet. So I was like, all right, I'm going to click the send message button. So I clicked the send message, and this whole automated response started happening. And I'm going through the whole sequence, and I get, I don't know, maybe about 5 or 6 messages into it. And he's got this thing said, hey, you know, we can teach you how to do this, but we can also do it for you. And we can build out the whole sequence for you. And it's just $1,000. So I was like, well, all right, well, let's do that. So I ended up buying this guy. I'm getting them to build my chatbot sequence for me for $1,000. But that all happened inside a Facebook Messenger app. So like that's one of my favorites, the Facebook Messenger app. I mean, I actually talk to more people through Messenger than I do email these days. But that's a great way. And now that we've got these chatbots, we can actually build a list of people, just like an email list, but it's a Messenger subscriber list. And the cool thing is you can actually broadcast messages out to people just like you would an email, and it'll go straight to their inbox. Their message. So, for example, if you have a dinner with the doc coming up and you have a Messenger subscriber list, you could, let's say you've got, you know, a few hundred people on that list. You can go to, there's this platform called ManyChat, ManyChat.com. You go to ManyChat.com and you can create a little broadcast message. It says, hey, we've got a dinner with the doc coming up on September 25th. I'd love to invite you to it. Here's the link to register. It's free. And you can blast that out to the Messenger. And the thing with Facebook Messenger is that it's got like a 98% open rate. So I think that's one of my favorites, and I think that's going to be a big game changer.
Wow.
Yeah, cool stuff.
You know, when I get a chance to hear an expert like you talk about these topics that are quite interesting to me and Luke, you know, we get a chance to have you open up your vault of expertise to us, which I'm very like humbled and, you know, impressed by what you do. And you know, you're one of those guys that I've been following as well, and I know from my heart of heart, I know you love investing in yourself. I know that you love dropping $1,000 because you know it's going to give you an ROI of $20,000.
Right. Yeah. And again, you know, and that might not happen today. That ROI might come 2 years or 3 years down the road, but it's just one of those things where, yeah, you've got to make the investment in yourself and in your marketing. You know, it's like, that's the only, like, but not be attached to instant gratification. You know, there's a lot of things that, you know, sometimes don't come to fruit right away, but when they do come to fruit, it's like explosive.
Yeah, and we can't be marketing desperately like we need these leads like this month type campaigns. And I think that that's where so many of these novice type ad agencies or ad developers or chiropractors go into this, and they're like, you know, it's a blood game. Like, we need these type of numbers to come in this month, otherwise it's going to be critical, and things aren't going to go in the right direction, and things are going to suck, and now we're all PO'd at everyone.
Right, and you know, and it's funny too, Jim, that they tend to they make it sound like it's now your duty. You know what I mean? It's like, well, wait a minute. It's like, well, you know, you've been in practice for how long, and you're still having this new patient issue? You know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's like, they get desperate, and then they want somebody to come in and be their saving grace. But at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to save your practice. You know what I mean? Like, it's you've got to get out, and you've got to, you know, you got to Chiro hustle and get out there and make shit happen. You know? But anyway.
So what kind of things do you listen to and read? Like, are there any podcasts or books or blogs that you follow constantly?
Yes, yep, I sure do. So, one podcast that I love besides my own is one called Perpetual Traffic. If you go to your podcast app, you can get the Perpetual Traffic. Another one is Social Media Examiner. That's another great podcast. As far as some books and stuff, like, I'm not like, so I read books, but audio books. So I listen to books. I don't really read a lot. But some books I recommend there's a book by Jonah Berger called Contagious. So that is a really good book. Another one is by Robert Cialdini, and it's called Persuasion. And I think his other book, one of his first books there was called Influence, if I remember. But Persuasion was the one that came out last September, and that was a really, really good book. Those books, both of those books, give you a better understanding of human psychology and human behavior and what causes a person to act in ways that they do. So when you understand that, you can begin to, when you understand human behavior, you can begin to influence them better with your messages, with your marketing.
Well, that is coming up on the end of our show right now. Is there anything you wanted to talk about that we haven't asked you?
Just one last thing. I've got this special event. It's an event coming up November 3rd and 4th. It's in Las Vegas. I only have 9 spots left. It's for 16 people total. We've got 9 spots left to fill, and it's called Masters of Propaganda. And just to kind of clarify this with everybody, I know when people hear the word propaganda, they think lies, deceit, and all that stuff. I just want to clarify that propaganda in and of itself is neutral. It's not evil, it's not good. It's all in how you use it. So you can actually use propaganda to spread the truth, or you can use it to spread lies. I choose to use it to spread the truth. So the event is called Masters of Propaganda. And at that event, what I'm going to be teaching are basically some of the insider secrets to marketing your business online. Things that I've done since 2006, and obviously things in 2006 are not necessarily relevant today. There are some marketing principles that are the same, but I'm going to be sharing kind of like part of my journey, things I've done to grow my brand over the last 11 years, and talk about some of all the cutting edge stuff. We're going to people that come to that, they're going to learn how to create their ideal, how to create their avatar, their ideal prospect. And what a lot of people don't realize is that you just don't necessarily just have one ideal, one avatar. You can have multiple avatars. You just have to know who your audience is. So for example, my avatar, of somebody that has migraine headaches, if I'm a chiropractor, is going to be different than the person who's suffering with sciatica. So you have to understand exactly who your avatars are, and then be able to craft your message and speak to just that one single person. So a big thing that a mistake that a lot of chiropractors and business owners and marketers in general make is when they talk to an audience, they talk to them as everyone. Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? So it's like, that's not the key. The key is to find out who that one person is that represents your avatar, and then just speak to that one person. Because by speaking to that one person, you'll actually be able to better communicate to them, but you'll actually be speaking to everybody. So we're gonna talk about that, and I'm gonna walk people through an exercise on how to actually do that at the event, and then also we're gonna be talking about how to create and build your own propaganda marketing machine, how to leverage Mereexposure effect, how to actually set up a Facebook ad, a custom audience, and build an audience of people that are actually engaging with your content, and then how to retarget those people. And it's going to be a working event. So when people come to that, they're going to actually walk away from the event having actual campaigns like set up and like ready to go sort of thing. So that we're going to be talking about Facebook Messenger ads and chat bots. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to see if I can get this guy that I just hired to come out to teach that portion of it. So we'll see. But we're going to be talking about that. I'm going to be talking about how to do a 6 or 7 figure product launch. So I've helped multiple companies. The American Posture Institute is one of them. They've done multiple 6 figures with their product launches of their online courses. So I'm going to be showing people how to do that. Basically, just how to build a business online. And so that event, if you go to vanburfmedia.com/Vegas-2017, you can learn more about the event over there.
That's really cool. I think that so many people are going to get a lot of value from being able to get into the intimate environment with you and to be able to learn from you and to take somebody's expertise that's focused on their avatar, which is the chiropractor, and teaching them how to build leverage and credibility in the marketplace and to build the business to generate income, which gives them better quality of life, better opportunities, and the ability to, run faster and faster and faster towards their goals, of which is getting to critical mass of more people into the office.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, we're going to wrap up with you now, but is there any other resource like websites or, information on how people can reach out to you if they did want to have you help them with these type of services you provide?
Yeah, if you just go to vanburfmedia.com, there's a little button there on the page you can click and you can request a consultation with me, and then we'll just get on the phone and find out what it is you're looking for, and I'll let you know whether or not I can help you. I'll go through, you can learn more about my different programs over there as well. But yeah, vanburfmedia.com.
Well, cool. I know I'm very appreciative for you taking some time out of your day to share your story, share some tips, and be a resource for people in the chiropractic marketplace. And I know you're chiro hustling like nobody else. So I was really impressed to have you say, yes, I'll agree to do a podcast interview with you.
Yeah, man, anytime. I appreciate the invite.
It was also nice for me getting to know you and to meet you for the first time, and I also enjoyed your segment on our show today, so thanks again.
Yeah, man, it's the same here. It's very nice meeting you. I've heard about you, but I've never actually had a conversation with you, so it was nice.
Well, that just about brings us to the end of our show. And with that, I think Jim and I are going to hop off the line. And
awesome.
I want you to enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, guys. Hey, take care.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.